Okay, here we go. This is Earl Lauer. I'm a photographer in the Navy, and these are some movies that I took on and off to record what the USS Siboney was doing. This was about 1952 to 3. We were the flagship for the Hunter-Killer Force, which was all experimental stuff at that time. And what we would do, we would go out with airplanes, and the airplanes would drop Sony buoys out, and we would hunt submarines. They would go out about 5 miles out, and so we would cover approximately a 20-mile area and just move along about 8 miles an hour or something like that, maybe 7 knots. Then after the airplanes we started with, experimenting with, they would drop the buoys, and then the buoys would explode and sink, so nobody would find them. But after a few times like that, they decided that was too darn expensive. So we found a way that we could have a sonar buoy out there and then retrieve it. So we started using destroyers. We'd have 5 destroyers out 5 miles ahead of us, and they would stop and drop a buoy in, which they had on the bottom of the ship there, and then they would pick it up, and that worked out pretty good. And we experimented with blimps, and we experimented with helicopters in the same operation, and we found out that in the long run, the destroyers were the best situation, so that's the way it ended up doing. Here we see some planes getting ready to take off. These are S2Fs or SVs, and they were the largest single-engine planes the Navy had at that time. And they getting up to a catapult. I'd have to tell you, I went flying in one of these one time, and getting up there and looking down and seeing the little ship, I decided once was enough, and I didn't have to go back up in a plane again. As a photographer, I used to go up in the helicopters. We always had a helicopter that stood out off the ship's bow there, and in case something happened to one of the planes, they went into the water, the helicopter would go over and pull that pilot out of the plane. They used to call them the Angels. And I used to go up in that helicopter. We used to take pictures. A lot of these other pictures I took from that helicopter. But these are all movies that I just kept the film in the same camera and just took it off and on whenever something was happening. These are the ship we had, the Siboney, was in mothballs after the Second World War. And then they took it out of the mothballs in 1950 to 51 to serve in the Korean War. And they decided after a while that this is the best use for their ship as this Hunter-Killer Force, as the nuclear submarines were really coming into their own. Here we have a blimp that we were refueling. We had 5 of these blimps out with us out on the sea. You can see from what's happening, it was not the most efficient situation. We ended up having the blimps up high and pumping the gas up to them. Here's a guy, he's trying to show that blimp what to do. But we were pretty successful in gassing them up this way. Here's a plane coming in for a landing. The hook will grab a hold of the cable. That's what we call a guppy plane. That's a radar screen in that big guppy. There you can see it there. That would hunt any submarines on the surface. See how the wings would fold up so we could get them down below the deck. We had elevators on there that the planes would go, and they'd go down, and underneath there, the whole area was a hangar deck. There's my baby. I used to go up in that. They used to open that door up on the side, and I'd be sitting in a nice chair there, and go up there, and I'd tell the pilot there, well, drop down a little bit or drop over here a little bit. And it was the nicest photographic tripod you ever could use. There's a guy going off on a catapult. No, he's not. He's going off by himself. I'm sorry, not a catapult. Here's a picture of our helicopter that they call the Angel. I think they're getting ready here for some flights. Well, here we're refueling again. We did this quite a bit. Here you can see the fuel lines going over there. Here's one with a guppy on it that has a radar underneath it. These planes there was a pilot and a crew member, and then they had space underneath there, close to that star on the side, where a third member could be. Here he goes off the catapult. We're revving up the engines. Yeah, here we got those quad 40s, 40 millimeter guns. This was on our shakedown cruise down in the Caribbean. And I'm telling you, when those guns go off, the whole ship would shake. Now, here's one of our blimps again. Yeah, the thing was they dropped Sune buoys into the water, and then that would come back to our, under the ship there. We had CIC was a Combat Intelligence Center, and that is where all this information came back to, so we'd track anything down. We did track one submarine for one time for 3 days, but we never really caught up to them. And we never really knew if it was one of ours or one of theirs. And all the time that I was on this ship for 3 years, we did lose one plane. Like one of these S2Fs. It come down and grabbed a hook, and then it kind of bounced and went over the left side of the ship, port side, and then it into the water, and it was hanging by the cable. And after a while, they decided it was running when it hit the water. And they get seawater into an engine when it's running, it's destroyed. Then they finally ended up cutting the cable, and the plane sank in the ocean. The guy here the helicopter had that pilot out, I think in 4 seconds. It's amazing how these guys could handle those planes, those helicopters. We're transferring a person to the destroyer from our place.
There are no women on these boats.
No, sir. No women. This is March 53, Guantanamo Bay. Yeah, we had close to 1,000 people. This was a small carrier, a jeep carrier, they call them. And now the big carriers, the atomic ones, there's 3,500 people on those damn ships. And they do everything. They can do anything. It's amazing. Here's a helicopter that we operated with. He'd usually go out and drop Sune buoys out there. And just what they did was weighed so much. Then they took all the skins off, and they put these big balls in there. And in case it went down, we didn't lose the helicopter. It would float. See, then we'd go over and lift them out. Here's my helicopter, man, what I call it mine. See that door on the side? They'd open that door and slide it up and lock it open, and I'd be sitting in there. I'd be my camera like this. I'd tell them, okay, go up about 100 feet. They don't pilot, go up 100 feet. Amazing. And this I took off of the island, up on top of the island. When the planes were landing or taking off, we had to have 3 photographers on duty. One was up on the top of the island where this was taken from with a movie camera. And every plane landing or every plane taking off had to be taken movies of. If nothing happened to any of those planes, we had a magazine of film in there. And if we take it and we had a new magazine, we ran out of film, we had to put a new magazine in. Nothing had happened, we take the magazine, throw it over the side. What are we going to do with it? If something happened, we had better have the damn movies of it because they want to lay the blame on somebody.